What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Game Develop Repeat. I'm your host, Chris. Today we're talking about hidden knowledge or knowledge that you take for granted. I think the two things are pretty related, pretty interconnected. I watched somebody try to play a few different games, and this is somebody who's played games before but is not like a deeply experienced gamer, right? So I watched that. I got a little bit of insight into what it's like to play games when you're not familiar with the controller, when you're not familiar with all sorts of game mechanics, when you're just getting used to it again or sinking your teeth into it and what that experience looks like. And it got me thinking about all the knowledge we take for granted, not just in games, but in game development, in communicating our ideas, in designing, in all of these different fields, and how that relates to the way that we learn. So today we're talking about the skills that we have as gamers that we take for granted, and we're talking about the skills that we want to learn, that we don't know how to learn, both as gamers and as game developers. Today's episode is an unscripted episode because I want to bounce back and forth a little bit. You know, the last couple were scripted. There are things I like about it. There are things that I don't. We're still experimenting, and that whole experimental mindset is going to come into play in this conversation about learning things and playing games. Anyway, Game Develop Repeat. I'm your host, Chris. Let's get going. Thank you for joining. Can you remember anything about when you were first learning to play video games? The earliest times of your, let's call it career, your gaming career. What was it like? Do you remember the actual sensation of struggling to play a game, to figure out the controls, to know when to jump, to know how to attack, to that feeling of I'm hitting A to attack. Oops, never mind, I accidentally hit B, which did a different thing. I want to do a roll as Sonic. Oh, I have to hold down and press this button at the same time? That's too many things. Why am I doing so many things at the same time? I got to use my left and my right hand, and there's these triggers. What's going on? My earliest experience with being bad at a game, which was one of my earliest gaming experiences, one of the ones that sticks in my head, is Sonic, playing Sonic the Hedgehog and just being terrible at it. It is the reason why I don't really like platformers that much. I think I've mentioned this before. I was not having a good time playing Sonic the Hedgehog. It was just difficult. On a level of how do I make this guy do what I want him to do? And how close to this ledge can I get before I jump? Why don't I have as much control over this as I want to? He's kind of sliding around. Oh, and now this level has ice on it, and he's sliding around even more. Oh, there's fish jumping out of that water, and they can hit me. I have to time my jump. That's too much, at least for me at the time. Do you remember an experience like that? Have you had times where you, as a gamer, go, I have no idea what the heck is going on here. I don't know how to play this. I'm confused. Because I've had that experience even on some more modern games, right? But I don't think I've had it on the level that I had it when I first started gaming. That experience that I had when I played Final Fantasy Tactics, and there was a whole tutorial where it controls everything except for one character, and I, as a child, and my brothers too, did not realize that I was only controlling one character. I didn't realize that later the game would allow me to control everybody else, so I just went, well, this game sucks. This is a terrible game. I just watch all of my teammates and people do all this stuff, and then I get to move one guy around. Turns out it was one of the greatest games I've ever played, but we returned it early to like Video Warehouse because we were like, this game is terrible. You can only control one guy. Who designed this? Because we didn't know. We didn't know that was a tutorial. We had never played that type of game. So it just didn't click for us. And then later we learned about it and we were like, oh, I love this. This is so good. sometimes that's all it takes. Sometimes it's just one little experience, one little assumption that you're making about a game, or one little piece of knowledge that you're missing to turn one of the greater experiences that you're going to have into something that kind of sucks. And then later, if you catch that piece of knowledge, you can go, oh, wait, actually, turns out this is incredible, and I really enjoy this. Same thing applies for development and learning basically any skill, at least in my opinion, but we're going to keep it focused on gaming for the moment until we get that little musical interlude and jump to the next section. Here's a thought. Have you watched somebody who doesn't know what they're doing play a game for the first time? You see the frustration of figuring out the game and figuring out the controls and so on, but we as people who have gamed a lot, we have a different experience of gaming than somebody who is new to it, of course, right? But it's hard to really register the things that they are going through when they're playing. And the way that we're doing it is extremely like, oh, I know what this is. I know what that is. I've connected these dots. I have some assumptions. Oh, that surprised me. That's really nice. I haven't seen a game do that before. Anyway, continuing on. And like, we can look at the controls and be like, I don't really like that control scheme. I'm used to this. And then we just change the controls. Somebody who's new to it might not even know you can change the controls, for one thing. And they might not recognize when a game is being intentionally difficult, intentionally making the controls a little tricky to make a minigame hard, or messing with the timing, or whatever else. They may not know the difference between a bug and just like them misunderstanding something on the game, or not being used to it. And I wonder how many people don't enjoy games simply because of control issues, right? Just simply because they haven't learned to navigate the gamepad like a steering wheel, or navigate the keyboard like a steering wheel, or are playing games that are meant to be played on gamepad on a keyboard because you're not getting a warning about it, or vice versa. And I think about that knowledge, and it instills a sense of curiosity in me. It makes me go, what all am I really taking for granted? I have a weird example of this, and I'll save it for a moment, but it's a work example around a skill that I was learning in my day-to-day work. I'm just thinking about the little tiny details that you can't really communicate that help so much. You can teach somebody all the controls, you can verbalize it, you can explain all the details, and there's still something in there that's just in your head, can't be expressed, can't be gotten out, can't be handed down to somebody else, and has to be discovered by each individual person. They have to find their way of doing it. They have to uncover the way that you're doing it if your way is really good and they want to learn that. But you can't just pass it to them, right? This is one of the deeper, trickier skills of teaching, and it does apply to just playing a game. And one of the reasons game design fascinates me so much is because really good game design does this in a way that I have not seen teachers do unless they are absolute masters. It is very, very hard to design a situation in which somebody learns as well as a game teaches them. It is, if it's a good game. Having said that, educational games are often kind of bad because they're aiming to teach in a weird way. And sometimes they're very good. Don't get me wrong. I loved like Jumpstart third grade math or whatever it was. That was a good time. But they have to be designed very well. And I guess that's all games. This whole tactic that games use, though, of teaching a skill is absolutely fascinating to me. And I want to dig a little deeper into that in terms of how it relates to the skill of designing games, or learning what those little hidden bits of knowledge are that really good designers have, or that really good programmers have, or really good artists. I want to know how to unlock that secret knowledge. You know, the secret knowledge of a League of Legends player is not that different in terms of the nature of knowledge, right? It's not that different in terms of how difficult it is to uncover. Some knowledge is more hidden than other, knowledge, but knowing exactly what to do at what time in a match is not just if A, do B. It's got a ton of other conditions tucked away in there and little tiny techniques and just nitty-gritty details that can't really be communicated clearly. So let's dig in to how to uncover that information. And I'll give you an interesting little work example that I had a couple weeks ago. When was the last time that somebody told you exactly how to do something and you still got it wrong? This happens a lot in learning, and I think it's essential to not take that as a personal failing. It is not that you are dumb, it is just that there is a misunderstanding somewhere in there. You are on a Windows machine trying to communicate with a Mac machine, and the layer of interpretation between you and the thing that's teaching you is not working. They mean something different than you mean when you use certain words. Or they're just using an intonation that to you means something and to them it means something else. There is some level of assumption and confusion going on. Something's getting lost in translation, even within the same language, right? How often have you miscommunicated with somebody based on almost nothing? Almost anything can throw things off. It's so easy to have a basic misunderstanding on a fundamental thing. When you're learning a new skill, you can't just listen to what somebody else says. When I was first learning to strip the insulation off of copper wire, it's very important not to scratch the copper wire. So I'm using a test piece. I use my wire strippers. I strip the insulation. In a perfect world, it's never going to scratch. You're using wire strippers. They're shaped correctly. It's the right size. It's not going to give you a little nick. You're good. But if you rock the wire strippers sideways at all, which sometimes you might do to try to get the insulation to come off easier, well, you may have just nicked the wire. If you pull at a certain angle, you may have just nicked the wire, right? Because it's moving around in there. It might hit the blade. I was having a little trouble with this. I was going, why do I keep getting scratches on this test piece? I got some help from somebody who knows what they're doing. I watched them do it. I listened to their verbal explanation. They gave me the troubleshooting of like, these are the issues that people usually run into. And it's good, right? I pulled another piece of insulation off. It came out perfectly. I pulled another one off. It came out perfectly. I pull another one, comes out nicked. I go, okay, what is going on? I pull another one, comes out nicked. Do another one, comes out right. Okay, this is ridiculous. Let's figure out what the heck is going on. So I start experimenting and I start thinking, what could be causing this? What have they not talked about? What did they not teach me about, right? They told me about not rocking it this way. They told me that, the other. And I'm confident that I'm doing all of these things right. They watched me do all of these things right. Now I have to experiment and figure out what it is that I'm doing wrong. Turns out I was doing something that is almost invisible, but is pretty straightforward. I was just keeping pressure on the tool after I initially cut the insulation. So you only need to squeeze it one time, and then you can pull the insulation off. I was squeezing and holding the squeeze the whole way through, and something about the way that I was doing that and the amount of pressure and the angle I was pulling at or whatever would occasionally nick the wire, and then other times not. Turns out if I just squeeze once, keep a very, very light pressure, just keep the tool closed enough to grab the insulation off the wire and pull it off that way, we're great. We're golden. We will almost never have a nick on the wire. Still going to check just in case because it's pretty bad to have one. But generally speaking, boom, you're good. Just from one little assumption. And the assumption was, I close the tool. I keep the tool completely closed. Nope. Close the tool, let up a tiny bit, pull the insulation off. And if you just run little experiments, if you look at all the stuff that is being taught to you and you go, okay, am I doing all of these things right? That's the first step. Is there any instruction that I'm ignoring? And do I have a good reason to ignore that instruction? Am I sure that that's a good reason? It's probably not. But am I following all of these instructions? Are the instructions trustworthy? Are they coming from a good source? Okay, cool. We've cleared that out. Next, is there anything they're not instructing me about that I am doing? What is going on between the lines? What is going on that I might be doing wrong or doing differently that neither of us would notice? Some little invisible thing. some angle that we're not taking into account, some secret piece of knowledge that nobody thought about, everybody just assumed, and then ran with it. This is the stuff that'll drive a person crazy, and this is the stuff that will unlock a lot of cool techniques and information and skill. And if you can verbalize that stuff, congratulations, you are now really good at teaching a little detail that nobody else thinks to teach. If you can be the person who is so bad at something that they have to find out the little tiny detail like that they have to figure out how to verbalize that's how you work, then if you're able to verbalize that little detail to somebody else, they can learn even faster, and information can just get ripping through. Everybody can get real good at whatever it is that you're teaching them. This is something I'm fascinated with. I'm fascinated by these fundamental skills. I'm fascinated by these tiny little hidden bits of knowledge, these little foundational blocks that we are building on top of that nobody notices, that you just take for granted. And if you can notice those little things, sometimes it'll give you a key to open up a door that lets you do something very cool, lets you be more consistent, lets you be more excited about what you're doing, because you don't have this random, oh, and now it doesn't work right. Oh, and now this is annoying. Oh, and now this is a problem. I think really, really good programmers probably are pretty skilled at this, if I had to guess. Pretty good at getting deep into the system and going, oh, and there's that tiny little assumption going on. There's that tiny little thing. Oh, I thought that it was going to treat this variable this way, but it's actually treating it this way, so on and so on and so on. It's troubleshooting, but for your mind, for the way that you learn. And as a designer, I think we got to engage in this a little bit. We got to look at this and go, which players are going to view this which way? Who's going to think, Jesus, shut up with the instructions? Is it going to be the beginners and the experienced guys? Is it just going to be the experienced guys? I tend to think that written and verbal instructions suck. Weird thing to come from a guy doing a podcast, but I tend to think that written and verbal instructions are terrible. I really think we should minimize them. I think that the less verbal and written instruction you have in a game, I should clarify, the better. Nobody looks at a giant wall of text and goes, oh, I can't wait to learn this. Well, maybe some people love learning from a textbook, but when you're playing a game, that's not how it goes. And I am very much in the school of get the player experimenting. And that is the school that I am in when it comes to learning a skill, learning to design games, learning to create games, learning to compose music, learning to draw, whatever it is. The sooner you can start experimenting with guidance, the better. I tend to go too far on one side or the other. I jump real hard towards research, and never do the experimenting, or I go really hard on the experimenting and never refine the process. I'm bad about that with programming, especially. I think because I tend to feel rushed. I tend to feel like, oh, I have to fit this time in. I have to spend time developing, and I only have so much time. Let's go. I'll just make this feature. It doesn't matter how I do it. It doesn't matter how good the code is, whatever. That's a little bit of a trap. But if you can take the time to experiment and look at it and go, oh, what if I do it this way? What if I do it that way? And then do a little research and go, what's the recommended way of doing this? I should probably look at the recommended way, even before you start experimenting, by the way. It's not a video game. It's not designed. It doesn't have super clear level design all the time, like making a game. There's not just like, oh, and then do this, and then do that. And there's only 4 buttons that you can press, so go experiment with them. No, you've got thousands of options, so maybe look at a little bit of documentation and then start messing with it. Maybe look at some other games and learn from them. Maybe watch somebody else do something and learn from them. That's the other part. It's not just verbal. You can learn more from watching somebody, I think, than from hearing them explain it. And then you hear them explain it and you start to go, ooh, that makes sense. And oftentimes people who are really excellent teachers or just know what they're doing will say, now here, look at this. This is an easy thing to miss. And then they'll draw your attention to something. Oh, that's nice. That is a very handy thing. because that can let you notice the smallest of details that you would otherwise completely gloss over. So I've gone a bit disordered on this episode, but let me consolidate the recommendations that I was making, the experiments that I'm running. One is don't rely fully on just text. Don't rely fully on just research and on verbal explanations. Follow those guidelines and then do some experimentation, right? If those guidelines actually work for what you are trying to do. Observe the actions of somebody who knows what they're doing and see what they're doing different from you. This is harder in game design and in programming in general, but you can look at a game that is similar to what you're doing and you can look at its design choices and go, oh, why are they doing that? What does that accomplish for them? What is the thought process behind that? Even the smallest of details can be quite useful. And maybe you look at something and you go, ooh, this is really good. I want to do that. Oh, that's a really good technique. Let me do it that way. But it might not work for you. It might not work for your use case. That's why it's important to interrogate it and go, but why are they doing that? And does that work for me? Is this the right time to do that? Because there are all these little tricks and tips and twists and times that you go, oh, actually, I'm using a different use case than they are. I love this game. I love Hades. I love the way that they do their level ups. But I'm not making Hades. I can draw some inspiration. I can look at what they're doing. I can look at the rationale behind it. And I can try to get myself into that mindset. But I can't just straight copy. And then lastly is experimentation. Experimentation is such a good way of learning. You got to play with it to learn. And I love it too. It's a fun way of doing things. It's very frustrating. But experiment in game development in the way that you experiment when playing a game. And it's not going to blow up. Your computer's not going to explode if you mess around with it just a little bit, Nothing's going to blow up on your computer based on something you're doing in Godot or Unity or Unreal. So just back up your work if you need to and then blow it up. Whatever. You can just get a little more practice with Git by going, oh, got to back it up, got to go back to what I was doing earlier. I really just blew this thing up. This is something that I am trying to get better at. I'm very resistant to just experimenting wildly. And then sometimes I get frustrated and I just go hard on it. I just go, okay, we're experimenting with absolutely everything. Screw it. I'm not backing it up. Whatever. It'll be fine. Did I mention that I recently, I kind of recently bricked my Windows operating system, which is why you have less sound quality in this podcast for the last 3 episodes. Worse sound quality, last 2 episodes plus this one. Yeah, I bricked my Windows, and the thing that I use for some audio editing is only available on Windows. But I'm going to fix it. It's fixable, and if I don't fix it, I'm going to learn a whole bunch trying to fix it. Oops. That's all I have to say on that one. I think I have a way to fix it. I'm going to try it out later. That's okay. I've gone too far astray. This is what you get when I have an unscripted episode. You get a little bit more random details. Speaking of random details, I want to talk to you about my new graphics card and how it's doing on a Linux system. We'll talk about that in this last section, but hopefully you got something out of this whole development idea thing that is floating through my head, and I'm excited about it. I'm excited about doing more experiments and just getting to the point where I can take things for granted that I don't currently take for granted. As a designer, as a developer, as an artist, as a bunch of different things, I am struggling with the controller. I am trying to attack and I'm blocking. I'm trying to block and I'm attacking. I'm trying to jump and I'm opening up menus, and then I'm in the menu and I don't know how to exit the menu, and that's very frustrating. But there's a way to get to where I can take that stuff for granted, to where when I want to go to the menu, I open the menu. There's things I don't even know the menu exists a lot of the time. And if you don't know the menu exists, how the heck are you going to play the game? How are you going to even exit the game? So that's stuff that I want to explore and get more fluent in. But let's wrap this thing up. before I give you your question for this week, I just want to say I really like my new graphics card. I've been running a Linux system for gaming for a while. I've been running a 3060 Ti NVIDIA, and it's been good actually. I've had a couple like little hiccups. Right, Expedition 33 was running a little bit worse on Linux than it was on Windows, which was very unfortunate because I love that game. But sacrifices had to be made for the fact that I really don't like Windows. So, all right, fair enough. Darktide, it was running pretty good, but it was having some random crashes, but I'm not that invested in Darktide. And for the most part, Linux was just doing its job for gaming, and I was like, okay, I'm happy with this. This is good. This is solid. I had to upgrade some stuff on my computer because my motherboard completely died, and that was a nightmare. And then I tried this game called Crimson Desert on Linux because my Windows operating system is currently bricked and I haven't fixed it yet. And I was like, first off, it was running on a 3060 Ti, which was nice. Everything was on low and it didn't look that good. Oops. But it was running. It took a very long time to load, but it was playable. And I didn't want to play it. Really, I mean, I could. I got through some stuff. I was like, all right, this is cool. This is fine. But I think the excitement of this game is really nice graphics to some extent. And I was like, well, then, it's time for an update anyway, on a new card. Ultimately, I picked up a 9070 XT AMD card, supposedly better for Linux in general. I don't know if the NVIDIA one would have been just as good or not. I haven't done that much playing, so I haven't really tested stability, but Man, my old card was underpowered. This thing, these games are so pretty, man. I didn't realize. I had no idea how gorgeous some of these games have gotten. I mean, mother of God. Expedition 33 looks incredible. I'm just talking about how pretty things are. That's not the most compelling thing, but Crimson Desert, I was blown away, absolutely blown away, just by how beautiful all the like landscapes and trees and everything is. It's incredible. I every time that graphics get better, I go, well, there's no point in them getting any better. I go, yeah, we've hit the point of realism. I've been saying that since Final Fantasy VIII, dude. I don't know why. When I was a kid, Final Fantasy VIII came out, and I was like, no way. I was like, this is insane. This is the most realistic thing I've ever seen. I saw that opening cutscene where Squall gets cut across the face, and I was like, oh my God, this is so real. And then I got into the gameplay, and I was like, it's still so real. Oh, this is so realistic. I was like, can they even get more real than this? And then Final Fantasy X comes out, and I go, no way. It'll never get better than this. There's no way it could ever get better. And then I get to Skyrim, and I go, I think we've peaked. Every time, I just completely believe it. I go, Skyrim is. There's no way. This is literally just a real life simulator. Everything I'm looking at is 100% genuine life. And I've just had this experience again. Oh, I mean, with Warframe, I had it too. With a bunch of things, I've been like, oh, what? And then I played Crimson Desert with my new graphics card, and I was like, there's just no way we go further than this. There's no way, right? It can't go further than this. Does it go further than this? And I'm looking at it, I'm going, actually, some of these characters' faces, it could get better. Yeah, they're a little goofy looking sometimes. But like the environmental stuff, I'm going, oh, I don't know. But that's the same reaction I had with Red Dead Redemption 2, and now I'm looking at Crimson Desert, and I'm going, these trees and this grass and everything, and the new graphics card on it. I mean, Red Dead Redemption might look just as good. I have no idea, but I've got a new graphics card, so it's I'm making unfair comparisons because Red Dead Redemption was on the old graphics card. Red Dead Redemption 2, I should say. I'm just blown away. And that's me geeking out about my graphics card and my new CPU too. I gotta I got one of those X3Ds. What is it? I'm forgetting all the numbers at this point. It's the AMD, what is it, 9800 X3D? Is that what it is? Whatever. It's a good processor. It's very good. Very good card now, you know. I didn't want to go the NVIDIA route because I wanted to try out the AMD route with Linux, and so far, I'm very happy. I'll let you know about stability at some point, or you can ask me about it. Truth is, I don't have that much time for like longer gaming sessions, so I won't find out more than like, does it survive an hour of gaming? And even then, it's like, well, I might find that out. But that's all I've got on the graphics card. I'm sorry, that went on way longer than I expected it to. It's just so pretty, dude. It's just so pretty because I've got a good monitor for it too. Okay, enough about all that. And I got a good deal on the CPU, right? Okay. All right. I'm done talking about that. Here's a question for this week. Let's come up with the question for this week. I'm just still thinking about the graphics card, man. Can't stop thinking about how pretty it was. I can't believe games have gotten there. Here's your question. Man. What was your first experience gaming like? I don't know how else to ask that. That's a weird question, but I think it relates to everything else we've talked about. What was your first experience playing games like? That's it. That's the question. Mine, arguably, I don't remember it. I talked about the experience with Sonic a little bit. Very difficult. But I think it was just fun with my siblings. I think I was just like playing games on a computer with my siblings, or playing some game on maybe something my dad showed me, or like a little like learning game maybe. But I started gaming too young. The earliest experience I really remember is the Sonic one, which really seared itself into my brain. But yeah, I'll ask that in the Discord, and I'll see y'all later. That's today's episode. Thank you for listening to this longer rambling one. Please tell me, genuinely, just hit me up, private message me, hit me up in the Discord about like feedback. Shoot me an email at anxiousbuddhagames@gmail.com. Tell me how you feel about the unscripted versus the scripted episodes. Because to some extent, I make this podcast for myself, but to some extent, I make it for you guys. Right? The balance is very weird. It's a strange thing. I will not make it if it does not serve me to some extent, because if it gets in the way of like enjoying game development, then I'm going to go, well, I want to enjoy game development, so see ya. But I also want it to serve the people who are listening to it, right? It's kind of a 50-50 split in weird ways, but I'm getting too deep into it right now. Just shoot me a message. Let me know how you like the scripted versus unscripted, because I get a big benefit out of both of them, and right now I'm just going to do whatever one I'm feeling on any given week. That's that. Thank you all for joining me, as always. And get out there. Make some stuff. There it is. I remembered it. Get out there, make some stuff, and have fun with it. I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.